Welcome to By Hook or By Needles. My name is Sam, and we are going to do the introduction or the starting part of our very easy, very beginner friendly, very doable really for any level of crocheter, Halloween. You don't agree? You didn't agree? Madam doesn't agree. Maggie. Shrug. Halloween Shrug. I'll put the picture over my face again in case you haven't seen it, because I don't have the physical item with me, because I gifted it to the person I was gifting it to, and rather stupidly they took it home, and I didn't have the heart to say, well, I might need that for a few more weeks. Not a problem though, we can do this without that. So, where are we going to start? Well, I think it's important to start with the yarn and the hook. Now, I used a very thin yarn when I made mine. Now this, the one I made in the picture was actually made with a hobby, Dahlia Halloween edition cotton, I think it was 200 grams. I'm pretty sure it's 200 grams in about 800 meters, which is almost 900 yards. I did not use the entire cake. I had quite a bit left over of just the black. I had a nice little egg-sized ball of yarn left over, which was quite a bit really, and it fit perfectly. Now, the thing with shrugs, I've sort of found out in my workings out and that sort of thing, is they're very much can be a one-size-fits-all, in the sense that I discovered, I was looking at a size chart, and for women it had the length of arms as being 60 centimeters, which is 23.5 inches, for the small, medium, large, extra large, extra large, all of them. All the sizes said that the women's arms were the same length. I'm assuming it was an average. Obviously some women are going to have longer arms than others and that sort of thing. So, and it worked out that when I measured my home helper, yes, her arms were 60 centimeters long. Then I measured from shoulder to shoulder, and that was 39 centimeters. I'm not sure how many inches that is, but I took that down to 30 centimeters because I knew that I needed it to be a little bit shorter in the arms, even though I wanted it to go from wrist to wrist, because I was putting on a few rounds possibly for the cuffs. So all up I needed 150 centimeters. I'm going to tell you what that is in inches. Hang on, bear with me. 150 centimeters is 59 inches. So that was her from wrist to wrist. So that's what you need to do first. So the first thing you need to do is get your measurement of the person you are making this shrug for. Now, they might or you might not want it from wrist to wrist. You might want to go from elbow to elbow. If that's the case, measure elbow to elbow. You may want it to the sleeves to be a little bit longer, so that you can sort of make them bell sleeves or something, with a big sort of cuff on them, as some bell sleeves have. So basically you just need to work out your measurement, how wide you are going to need this to fit the requirements that you need. That's your first thing you want to do. So I had, as I say, 150 centimeters. Now I knew that my swatch Yes, I did do a swatch. I didn't use this yarn. This is the yarn I'll be using for the sample when I'm actually making it again. I used, as I say, the Dahlia for fingering, 4-ply fingering. I think it was a 2-weight. I think some people call it a 1-weight. I would say it was a 2-weight. It was cotton, and it's a one that was, it does. You get it's a bit like this one, which is. Let me see if I can separate it and show you what I mean. Okay, come apart for me. It's the one which is. Can you see sort of 4 strands? I'm not sure if you can see that very well or not, but it's the one that was 4 strands that are not twisted. So that's what I used, and like I say, I had leftovers. So I've got a choice of using this sort of purple and royal blue, and this is a mill end that I got, and it does go. So I think in parts of it, it goes thick and thin, which I'm not a fan of. Or I can use a sort of autumny colour like this, even though it won't be autumn here when it is Halloween. And this is a sock yarn from Bendigo Woolly Mills, and it's wool. I don't know what this is because it's a mill end, but this is 80% wool and 20% nylon, or 85% wool and 15% nylon. I'm not sure of the stats on that. So I'm going to be using a 4-ply yarn, which is, like I say, a 2-weight in my mind, or a fingering sock weight yarn again. Now, when I used that 4-weight, I went with a 3.5 millimeter clover hook. I just found that because of the ply of the yarn, that the ply recommended 3.25, but I went with 3.5 just because I wanted it nice and drapey, which it ended up being, as you could see from the picture that I just sort of put over my face. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who are not fans of the 4-ply yarn. I wouldn't go any thicker than a thick 3-weight or a thick 8-ply, mainly because I think once you get into the realms of 10-ply and 12-ply, it's just going to be too chunky. It's just going to end up being too bulky to wear, I think, in my opinion. I mean, if you do what you want to do. Don't let me tell you can't do it. I'm just telling you what my preference would be, and I just wouldn't use anything that thick. But then I'm not much of I don't particularly like thick yarns. But I think it's an Australian thing and a UK thing as well. Most of our shops are filled with 3-weight yarns and thinner, whereas from what I can see and tell in the US, a lot of your yarns in the US are, 4-weight, and yes, some 8-plies, which is the 3-weight, but mostly 4-weight, and you like your chunky yarns. And that might be just because of the winters over there are colder than they are here in Australia, but then that sort of contradicts what's happening with the UK, because they get cold winters, colder than Australian winters, but they tend to stick with mostly 8-plies as well. I don't know. I'll tell you why I like thinner yarns. You get more in your yarn ball. Now, I know it sounds stupid, because with a thicker yarn, even though you get less meterage, you can make probably just as much with that skein of yarn as you could with a skein of thin yarn. I don't know. But anyway, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. I think, oh, good, I've got, I paid X amount of dollars for this, and I've got 900 yards or 800 meters. Whereas if I look at a ball of chunky yarn here in Australia, and I think, what? They want me to pay that? I'm like, yeah. So you go for the yarn that you are happy with, that you want, that you have in stock. Now, gauge. Swatching. I know. It's a horrible word. It's like swearing at you, and nobody likes to do gauge. But this is a different sort of gauge that we're doing here. I'm not telling you that you have to do your gauge, swatch, and match what I got. Okay? That's not what I'm doing here. So in this sense, it's the only reason you're doing this swatch, and really all I'm suggesting you do is the first 4 rows of the pattern of the chart, and I will go through those 4 rows with you. I will do each and every row with you on screen if that's what you want, and if you don't want it, you can fast forward, and that's fine as well. And the reason being is once you've finished those 4 rows, you can pin it out on a blocking mat or play mat or whatever you use to block things out on, and you're going to measure the width. Okay? And then you're going to take the full length you want. Okay, so you've measured what your full length is that you require, and you're going to divide it by the swatch width. Now, it's not. Chances are it's not going to come out as a straightforward number. It's going to be 5.3 or 6.9 or, you know, it's not going to come out as an exact number. It might, but it probably won't. And that's okay, because you can round it up or round it down, and then that will tell you how many repeats you need to get your length that you want. And you can add extra length. So you're better to go under than you are over, because you can actually add extra length by adding a cuff to it. So you're probably better to go under than you are over. I think initially, when I did my calculation, I came out at 6.8 or something for the length I needed. And I thought, no, I'll just make it 6 repeats, which I did, and it was perfect. It was a perfect length, and I was really pleased. And so was the person I gifted it to. So, yes, we are going to do 4 rows of a swatch. It will not take very long at all. And it really is so you know how many repeats you need to do for the length you want. Okay? Now, having said all that, if you want to throw, be carefree and throw care to the wind and not worry about any of that, I would tell you this starting chain I had, and in the ply I had with the hook size I had, and if you want to do that initially and see what the length is like for you or for whoever you're making it for, and you want to trust that, that's on you, okay? I'm just going to put it out there that you can do that if that's what you want to do. If you're going to be using the 4-ply and you really are dead set against doing the gauge, I'm not going to make you do a gauge or a little swatch, because I don't like doing them either. I did do that in this case because obviously I needed to know how wide my gauge was going to be. Now my swatch, or my repeat, was 23 centimeters. Inches. It was 23 centimeters, which was 9 inches. So that's how big one repeat was. So I did 6 of those for my home help lady, and then I just did a little bit on each end for a cuff, and then I did the ruffle around the front for which you could see in the picture at the end, and voila, finished. It was like I say, this is really very easy to do. And I'm going to walk you through every single row. So please don't think I'm just going to throw the chart at you and say, there you go, off you go. No. I'm going to hold your hand because I like having my hand held when I'm doing something I don't know. Okay, so if you've got your measurement, and if you are going to do your swatch and you find your swatch comes out at 20 centimeters, and that doesn't go very evenly into your length, and you find that you're sort of like you're half a repeat, and you think, well, I can't very well do half a repeat. So what I would suggest you would do is replace that half of a repeat with just the fillet squares. So you would have extra empty fillet squares at the ends, if that makes sense. We'll go into that a little bit more in a little while. And then that way, that will give you the extra length. Or simply, like I say, you forget about that half that you go below. So if you've got 5.5, it comes out to, well, you just do the 5, and then you make up the extra length to go to the wrist or wherever, or to the elbow, or whatever it is you're doing with a cuff, okay, which you can do. So there's not a problem in that respect. I only did do 2 repeats, as in rows. Each repeat is 17 rows, I think it was. It's initially 16 when I drew the chart up, but then as I was making it, it didn't look right. I added an extra row, and it turned out fine. Turned out better than I had hoped. If I'd left it with just, I had only 1 row between the nose and the eyes, and I decided, no, it needs 2 rows. So I'm glad I did add that extra row in. But yeah, I just did 2 rows repeats, so that means you're doing 17 times 2 is 34. So it's 34 rows all up. And because most of it, or the majority of it, is going to be a lot of empty squares, fillet squares, it really does go very, very quickly. When we come to the eyes level, it's no longer fillet for a few rows because of needing the large eye gaps. There's some long chains that we're going to do, some shorter stitches that we will do with some half double crochets, and then probably some single crochets, more half double crochets, and then we'll get back into doing the fillet again. So, but I'll walk you through it all. It won't be a problem. I'll walk you all through it. And I'm hoping to bring out a video at least every second day if I can, every third day at the most. Because I mean, one of the worst things is, I think, when you're making something in a crochet along, which is basically what this is, it's a crochet along. One of the hardest things is waiting until the next crochet along comes. Now, because it is such a quick and easy pattern to do, I didn't want to do 1 episode or 1 part a week. I thought, no, that's just too much. And I thought, well, if I do it every 2 or 3 days, I do a video. If you haven't got it done in 3 days, that's okay. The video's going to be there forever. Well, forever, yeah. So you can just watch it when you get to it. You know what I'm saying? So there's no pressure to do it at the pace that everyone else might be doing it, or the pace I might be doing it. Now, if anybody is mathematically challenged out there, I am more than happy to take your comment you can put down the full length you need and the length of your or the width of your repeat swatch, and I will tell you what the workings out is, because I know some people might get a little bit daunted or overwhelmed by that. More than happy to help with that. If you feel embarrassed and you shouldn't be, but if you do feel embarrassed for asking what how to work this out. This is my length I want. This is the width of the repeat. Email me instead, and no one will know, just you and me, and that's fine too. And I'm not going to tell anybody that so and so can't divide these two numbers. No. I've got better things to talk about, believe you me. Anyway, so I now have to switch the cameras because I do want to show you the first few rows of the skull pattern graph. It is a graph, it's a filet graph. I have not written it out, but that's okay because I'm going to be showing you every row by row. And when I say that, I mean obviously if it's a repeat of the previous row and it's exactly the same and it hasn't changed, I'll just say repeat the previous row again. So some rows I'm going to be unnecessary for me to say repeat the previous row again, and it would just be wasting your time and my time for me to sit here and crochet the whole row again. Okay, so yeah, let's switch cameras. I'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Strawny. Did you leave a comment so we can have a little chat? That would be very nice. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay, so here we are with our chart, and down here I've just got some samples of how we are going to work each square. Those of you who have done filet before, you will know that it's just a double crochet, some chain, a double crochet, chain, and so on and so forth to make your empty squares. And then when you come to your filled in squares, which I've marked with crosses here, it's you do however many stitches the chart tells you should do. I've done 3 double crochet into each of the chain 3 spaces. So you're going to start off with something like this. This is your starting chain, say, down here, and then you are going to have a double crochet into one of the chains. You're going to then skip 1, 2, 3 chain, and you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to do another double crochet into the 4th stitch. The filet pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares wide. So the way it's counted, you don't count the last stitch because each square shares. See how I've sort of separated these? That indicates though they're sort of shared. Your first double crochet, then you go 1, 2, 3, and then you do another double crochet. Now this double crochet that's here is the end of the first square, but it's also the beginning of the next square. So it's sort of not counted twice, but it's sort of, yeah, if you count just 1 double crochet and 3 chain, that's 4. It's 4 stitches. Okay, so it's a multiple of 4 stitches. We've got 11 squares. Okay, that gives us 44 chain to start off with, plus 1 for that very last one, because that's not counted. That won't be included, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until you get to the end, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can't leave it there. You need one final one, and then so it's then plus 1. So when you're doing your initial tester size swatch, you're going to need 45 chain. Okay? And then we're going to be, you do 45 chain, and we can work the first 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, say, just to get an idea of the width that it's going to be. So down here, I've just got an example of, so that's the previous row, you've got the 3 chain. When you come to a filler square, you're going to do 1 double crochet in the double crochet below, and then in the 3 chain space, you're going to do 3 double crochet, and then you're going to finish off by doing a double crochet into a double crochet. That doesn't change. As you look at this chart, you can see that that double crochet goes into there, that one goes into there. There's always going to be a double crochet going into the double crochet till we get to the eyes, and then things change just a little bit for a few rows, and that's fine. So when you're obviously doing 2 rows like this, where you've got 2 rows filled, it'll look like this. You'll have the double crochet starter, 3 in the middle, and then the 1 double crochet at the end. And that will be your your filled in squares. Once again, I'm going to walk you through all this. I'm going to do every row as we go, so there's going to be no need to sort of panic or say, oh, I don't understand what she's saying. That's okay. It's not a problem. I'm just explaining it, hoping, it might sink in. You never know. And it might make it a little bit easier for you when we do come to actually doing it. You'll be able to go, oh, now I get what she was saying about the 3 chain and all the rest of it. It's just a precursor to explaining how we're doing this filet Halloween shrug. Okay, so what else? So you're going to need to do a chain of 45 initially, and we're going to work, like I say, probably 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. That way we're doing 2 rows just of the fillet squares, and then we're going to do 2 rows with some of the fillet squares filled in. And then we're just going to lay it flat. You can pin it out on a blocking board or play mat or whatever you do, or just lay it flat and weigh it down with something and measure it. And then you're going to take that measurement and you're going to grab your full length measurement and you are going to divide one into the other. Whoops, come on back. Thank you. Okay, so what did I start with? For those who want to take the risk, I actually started off, I did 6 repeats, so I did 6 full repeats. So let me have a look at my calculator. Where's my calculator? So I had 6 by 44, because there's 44 stitches per repeat. So 6 by 44 was 264 chain. So I had 264 chain I started with, plus 1. And that one, once again, is just the one at the very, very end. Okay, now one other thing I will explain. When you're starting the very first, when you start each new row, you have got, so let's just draw this. We'll do, let's say this is your starting chain. Okay, and you've done your 260, you've done your 265 chain, or whatever it works out to be. All right, that does not include the chain we need for the first double crochet, nor does it count the chain we need for the first 3 chain, which is what we have over here. So we have our first 3 chain. So every row will begin with 3 chain in height, 3 chain in width. So every row we'll begin with 6 chain, and then we're going to work our double crochet, which is drawn as such, into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th chain. Okay, and that's at the beginning of every row. Every row we are going to have to, we're going to start here, we're going to do 6, whoops, sorry, not in the screenshot. We're going to do 3 and 3 and a double crochet, and then we get to the end, we need to start our new row, so we're going to do 3 chain, 3 chain, and then a double crochet. Okay, and when we come back, we will work into the 3rd chain here. We'll work into our 3rd chain to finish with our last double crochet. Once again, this is just really explaining the process. You don't need to have to absorb or remember any of this, because I am going to show you all these steps when we actually come to doing our test repeat swatch. I'm actually going to do another test repeat swatch, because although this yarn is actually a 4-ply, which is I think a 2-weight, I'm still going to do another swatch or another measurement of this repeat, because I want to know how big how much difference it's going to be, because there's possibly going to be a difference, because the yarn, like I say, goes thicker and thin in places. I mean, you can sort of see here it's sort of a lot thicker here, I think, than it is, say, over here. I don't know, or is it just me? I don't know, maybe it's just the colour that makes me think it's a bit thicker. But anyway, so I will be doing a starting swatch and working out and doing the math and everything. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video. So for now, just grab the yarn you want to use, grab the hook you want to use. As I say, I used 1 full cake of the Dahlia from Hobie, and I had leftovers, and that was a 4-ply. So I'm guessing 250 grams of a 4-ply or 2-weight yarn should be enough. But it's always best to be over than under, obviously. I cannot calculate the requirements for a thicker yarn, because obviously thicker yarns are going to use possibly a little bit more each time you make a stitch, because the yarn is thicker, but overall you're going to use less because the stitches are going to be bigger. So it's not something I can sort of predict, but there you go. So just make sure that you've got plenty on hand. Alright, I'm gonna leave it there. I'll do the video soon for the actual first 4 rows of our skull, and then we'll go on to doing, we'll start probably in the same video. We'll do our chain, which I will pause for. There's no need for you to sit there while I do a really long chain, and then we'll just do our first 2 rows for real, and then we'll just sort of leave it at that probably for the next stage when we actually start into the graph. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Please give me a thumbie, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.